today's study is the Jati Pachaya Sutta. As 1220, this is the SD 39.5, page 98. A couple of days ago, this online Buddhist course called Buddhism and Modern Psychology just started. It's a very simple course, and I recommend you all listen to it. It's not your normal traditional Buddhist teaching. If we talk about modern approach, I think this is one very useful approach because it's spoken by someone quite new to Buddhism. He specializes in what's called evolutionary psychology. In other words, we look at psychology from the point of view of evolution. So here we see a new development in our modern society, how the great minds, the scientists, look at Buddhism. You know, in other situations you find the scientists are knocking down God idea and all these things. But here you have a scientist actually talking about Buddhism. Of course, it's not the kind of Buddhism you get here today. It's quite different in that sense. But I enjoyed looking at it, listening to it, and it also helps me to feel connected with the way science connects with religion today. For example, by the way, the scientist's name is Robert Wright. He has written quite a number of books in connection with religion, history of religion, things like that. So his approach is very fair, very easy to understand. He doesn't talk down on Buddhism, he doesn't discount Buddhism. He's saying that, okay, if you're a scientist, how would you look at Buddhism? Or how would you look at Buddhism scientifically? Can we look at Buddhism scientifically? Can we practice Buddhism scientifically? That's the interesting part, what I like about this talk. He's actually also a meditator. He takes the trouble to say, I meditate every day, not very long time, but I do meditate every day. So he's trying to make sure that people don't criticize him that, oh yeah, you talk about Buddhism, but you don't meditate or something, So basically, he is sympathetic to Buddhism. Of course, one thing these Western scholars rarely will tell you is whether they are Buddhist or not. It doesn't really matter, I mean, even if I paint with a big, shining, neon-lit Buddhist, it doesn't mean I'm awakened, So Buddhism is not a label. Buddhism is your way of living. When you're angry, you're not a Buddhist. When you're kind to people, you're a Buddhist. So it's very hard to define. Buddhist is something, is the action you do, positive, wholesome action you do. So he says, okay, if you look at Buddhism from the scientific point of view, there are some things according to Buddhism you can accept, In other words, you must directly experience it. It must be, provable. You have evidence for it, things like that, which is fair. So that means we can't, for example, talk about heaven and hell because we can't really prove them. It's just belief, you see, that's fair enough. We can't talk about spirits and ghosts. Again, their beliefs. One person's report is another person doesn't see it, So these are things we can set aside. Okay? We don't have to say you don't have to believe it. We're just saying we can't prove these things. So let's just set them aside. So question now is, what are essential in Buddhism? What are essential? What are those things you need to use so that you can experience what the Buddha experienced, even attain awakening? Is that possible? And the wonderful good news is it is possible, even if you're a scientist. So in a sense, if you approach Buddhism from a scientific point of view, you're closer to what the Buddha has taught. All these ideas of ghosts, spirits, they are useful stories to reinforce certain important ideas in Buddhism. And rebirth and karma also are useful teachings. But even if we are challenged and say, okay, you can prove these things, all right, you don't have to accept all these things, but what are the things we can accept? Four Noble Truths. We can accept Four Noble Truths, right? So if we can accept Four Noble Truths alone, it's good enough. So the scientist, this Robert Wright, he says, all right, if you take, say, First Noble Truth, you can explain it very wonderfully, very clearly from the evolutionary point of view. Our whole evolution, how human beings and life evolve, can be explained by way of the Four Noble Truths. And you can use evolutionary science to support why the Four Noble Truths are correct and true. So isn't it wonderful? In other words, Buddhist teaching, the Four Noble Truths, are a natural teaching. It is not invented by the Buddha, it is natural. Why I'm saying this is because this idea will be mentioned in the sutta we're going to study today. And also I'm very happy with this kind of approach where, the modern scholars and scientists, they see Buddhism as it is. Not like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, where the scientists are so apologetical. It's like as if Buddhism is such a terribly bad thing, So they will never say they are Buddhists. They will always look at it like anthropologists, examining from the third person and so on. But now the scholars are matured, they are courageous in saying, I do practice meditation. In fact, I am a Buddhist, and so on. And so he says, for example, why do they suffer? Right? When you eat something nice, you eat it and then you feel full. When you feel full, you stop eating. Right? But after that, you miss the taste. You miss the taste and you go hungry again. Suffering, isn't it? Right? So it says this aspect of human behavior where you can never get enough of food. After you eat and then you suffer, you go hungry again. It's very important. Because imagine, if you eat and then you feel full for a long time, then you won't feel hungry, your health is going to get affected. In fact, this is what happens, something you didn't mention. Here you can use the story of the gods, how some of the gods die. These gods, especially the lower gods, not those deep jhana, the lower realms like the heaven of 33. These gods, they're enjoying themselves, So one of the way they die is because they're enjoying, so happy, and they didn't feed themselves. So they feed on something called oja, some kind of essence, So because they forget to feed themselves, and suddenly they just fade away, they just die out. It's like run out of battery, basically, right? So, so here, this lecturer says, same thing, So if we don't feel hunger and pain, we won't eat. So from the evolutionary point of view, this is very important, you see. You feel hungry and you like certain kinds of food because those kind of food gives you energy, like sugar, for example. So naturally you will want to eat some more, and that helps you to evolve into better, stronger beings. And the purpose of our life, and this is universal in evolutionary science, is to pass on our genes to the next generation. So the human beings can continue to exist, right? So this is like ingrained in our setup. So this is where he says, for example, that's why sex is pleasurable. In fact, somebody wrote a book, Why Sex is Pleasurable. And this is from an evolutionary point of view, see? But this is all about the First Noble Truth. So here, sex is pleasurable. I mean, imagine he says, if you have sex and then after you feel very nice and you don't have it anymore, then you're in trouble, the species will die, right? So this is where, even after this pleasure of, say, sexuality, there is still a need to do it again. Because the idea is you need to make sure the genes are spread to the next generation, that the human race doesn't die. So he goes on talking like that. So the way he explains the First Noble Truth is very interesting in that way. So he looks from the scientific point of view. So if you look at it, you find it is easy to explain to the new generation. And I have another graduate student, local person, who just told me, say, where karma is concerned, I don't believe, that karma is simply cause and effect, And when I heard that, I was very happy. I said, that's good, because that's what suttas will tell you. Karma is not just you do something good and then you get this good in return, and it's such a calculated thing, you know. Karma is more complicated than that. So I said karma is your habits, right? For example, if you get angry, then your tendency to get angry again is reinforced. That's karma. So if you habitually do bad things, then this habit will grow. That's karma. It's not like I put $10 into the donation box, so I'm going to get $100 back. Wow, that is investment, you know, right? That is not karma, you know? That's not karma. It's a wrong view of karma. So what we are looking at today is you find these intelligent young people, they question, they do question, and we must be ready to answer. And you find that's what the Sutta is trying to tell us. So this is where, as I said, this course just began. The first lesson was a couple of days ago. So if you want the link or what, just email us. It's free. It's one of those Coursera thing, you know, free of charge. You can just go online. We can send you the recordings also if you want. So it's very convenient to watch. They're using modern technology to wonderful advantage from Buddhism. Okay, now page 98, Jati Pachaya Sutta. So you see the main title is Pachaya. Pachaya is a very important word in Buddhism. Pachaya means conditionality, conditions. Yeah? Jati means birth. So I put the word birth in brackets because it's not there, and it makes the sutta unique, so you can identify it by name. Because Pachaya is very common. Pachaya is a very important concept. Very simply, we can put it this way. Whenever something wrong happens, or for the matter when something good happens too, there are many things that come together to make it happen. For example, let's say the sutta class, you know, it's not just because I want to give you sutta study. There are many conditions that come together to make us be present here. By the same token, if something bad happens, it is not right to blame any one person. One person is just an occasion, but the reality is there are many other conditions present which are causes, bringing effects. The effects themselves become causes, like that. Causes become effects, effects in turn become causes. Okay? It's just like, you know, you see some scientific, you go to science center and you see those, I think they're called, I forget the exact name, there are rows of balls hanging with strings, you know, about say 6 of them. You take the first one, you hold it up and you let it go. If you take one and then you will strike the other 5, only one will, on the other side, will jump up, right? I think one of them is called Newton's balls or something. So if you take 2 of these metal balls, then you let go at the same time, then 2 other balls will jump up like that. So here you see cause effect. It runs through the whole thing. Cause become effect become cause. Because what's interesting is this ball that you let go, you will knock into the other 5, and then one will jump up, and then one will come back and knock into the rest, and then the other one will jump up. So it goes back and forth, back and forth. Cause becomes effect becomes cause. And this is conditionality. It's very useful to understand this, especially in our daily life, right? For example, you come to study all the suttas, right? There are many conditions here, the conditions that brought you here, and then you feel very happy, very peaceful, and your family also benefit from it. And then your family goes out, talk to other people, and then other people also benefit, like that. It spreads out like that, okay? So that's conditionality, Pachaya. Now what's interesting about this sutta, it deals with the 12 links, but here it starts with Jati, birth. Now normally in the traditional link, 12 links that you have on the whiteboard here, which I've written here, you start with ignorance, so it's a normal one. No? So you can notice I've written a number backwards. I've written 12 at the top and goes down. So the sutta starts with birth, Jati. In fact, the actual starting point in the 12 links, or rather the ending point in the 12 links, is not birth, it is decay and death, right? But here, the sutta starts with birth because that is the first thing that happens in this life, so to speak. Or another way of putting it is, the Buddha will take different approaches at different times. We look at the Dharma in different ways. So this time we decided to start from Jati, from birth. Okay? So this sutta is divided into four main parts. The first part, section 1 to 3, if you look at page 107, 1 to 2 rather, it's just an introduction, right? And then the teachings start on section 3 to section 5, and that deals with dependent arising, okay? And then section 6 to 17 talks about the function of what is dependently arisen, how it works, if you like. And then the last part, 18 to 21, shows the benefit of knowing dependent arising. Okay? Dependent arising is about conditionality. This, again, is not a very easy topic to understand. According to some tradition, the Pacheka Buddhas are the ones who understand this very well. But because it's so deep, they can't teach it to others, right? These Pacheka Buddhas, as you know, they are the, what I call individual Buddhas. They arise at a time when there are no other Buddhas, and it's very difficult to teach the Dharma, so to speak. No? The Buddha, of course, understands all the teachings, especially the Four Noble Truths. So in a sense, for people like us, because our attention span is not very long, or meditation is not very deep, our understanding, or even the Four Noble Truths, is at best, let's say, academic, philosophical maybe. It has not, somehow not powerful enough to give us that push, to break through, to really become awakened. And travelings, yeah, we know the travelings, we have some idea of the connection, we might even understand, how the links are, how they work together, but somehow our lives have not changed. Remember, Buddhism is not about listening to talks, even from the best speakers. It's not even about sutta study. It's not that sutta study is bad or talks are bad. It's more than that. Dhamma talks, sutta study, they are like beautiful ladders, very strong, good ladders. You have got to climb. Buddhism is about self-change. Change yourself. Have we changed? Are we calmer people? Today is a beautiful, peaceful day. I think everybody is happy. It's so peaceful today. You don't hear the noise. Something very rare, something you really enjoy today. So you feel very good when it's peaceful like this. This is how I feel so good inside. You don't have to say anything. You enjoy the peace. Something like that. It's a simple joys of life. Next, you're happy. For some reason, you're just happy. You don't know why. You will never find the reason. Because reason only comes with thinking. Here is a feeling. Happy means you are living right now. That's another way of talking about it. So as a Buddhist, you just feel happy and peaceful. That's why you see many of these pictures of the saints, even the Buddha image, always, as a rule, happy, smiling. Very rarely you see Buddha images in a suffering state. Even if the Buddha images are in a suffering state, there's a reason for it. It leads to happiness later on. So remember, to be a Buddhist means to see some kind of positive change inside us. That's the purpose of Buddhism. It's not about rituals, it's not about empowerment. Nobody can empower you, only you empower yourself. Rituals hinder you. It will not bring you to awakening, in fact, it will slow you down. It's a factor, right? So, what are we left with then? Four Noble Truths is difficult, the dependent arising even more difficult. We can reflect on impermanence. That's the easiest one. Constantly reflect on impermanence, create a habitual karma of appreciating impermanence, accepting impermanence. You can accept impermanence by way of faith or by way of wisdom. And you're on the way to streamlining. So this sutta also says the same thing. So if you look at its conditionality and you reflect on it, also again streamlining. So there are different ways to gain streamlining. Streamlining means You're going to get awakened, you're on the way, you've taken the first step in this life itself. That must definitely be our purpose. All my life as a Buddhist, I've not met anyone who told me this urgency, said, look, you must work hard to be a streamer in this life. Or maybe I may have faintly heard somebody said this, probably a monk somewhere. But somehow, it didn't strike me that this is important until I read the sutta, chapter 25 of Samyutta. I said, wow, yes, this is the one. So sometimes you hear the Dharma, but it's recorded in our minds, but somehow we didn't pay enough attention to it. But it's there in the background. It's there, we don't forget it. Remember, so there's nothing wasted here. You may say, wow, today's sutta very deep, I can't understand. But you have heard it. One day, you will look back and say, oh yes, now I understand what I heard. Because if you do not hear the sutta, which is difficult, which you don't understand, in the future, there's nothing to look back and say, I understand. What is that to understand? You have nothing, you see. So, although at first you say, wow, this is very deep, it's okay. But you look back, you say, now I understand. Okay? Or you can have another case, where this Albert Einstein's assistant, he used to follow Albert Einstein in those early days. Nobody knows how Albert Einstein looks like, but he's already quite famous talking about his theory and so on. So he has the chauffeur who follows him around. And you can hear him lecturing, and all the lectures are almost like a recording. So the chauffeur listens, and after he said, sir, I memorized your talk already, Actually, you talk the same thing, even I can repeat what you say. Then, in the next stop, Albert says, I'm really tired. Here they do not know who I am, so why don't you give the talk, okay? They won't know who is who anyway. So this chauffeur is quite spotting and said, okay, let's try it, if you permit me, okay. So they introduced him as the Professor Albert Einstein, so he gave the talk. Perfect, no mistake, a recital, Of course, the master doesn't understand a thing he's saying. So we can memorize suttas, we can, memorize deep teachings, we can even talk about it. We don't understand the thing we're saying. And the audience said, wow, very impressive. Then, question time, aha. People ask questions, okay, says, Professor, what about this, But he's a very clever chauffeur, okay? He says, oh, that question is so simple. My chauffeur can answer. So Albert, they switch roles, So Albert Einstein answered it. But whether this is true or not, I don't know. But that story is definitely helpful for us to understand how sometimes we can know something, but it doesn't change us. So we must, how do we use the Dharma to change it? By reflecting on it, keeping our minds open, and when you least expect it, when you are very quiet and peaceful, at home, by yourself somewhere, traveling, or just sitting, looking at the suttas again, and then zap, or bang, this realization comes to you. And then you say, wow, now I understand. And this is the advantage of growing old, because the older we are, the more these ideas connect for us, the wiser we become. That's the advantage of being a Buddhist. We grow old in wisdom. Okay? Alright, so let's go to page 107. The sutta number is S12.20. Samyutta 12.20. This sutta is very easy. In fact, this is one of those reflective suttas meant for reflection. Certain ideas, certain patterns repeat themselves, there are certain basic teachings are there. 1. While reciting a Savatthi, right, so this is the location, then the Buddha says, Bhikshus, I will teach you dependent arising and dependently arisen phenomena. Okay, so there you have the Pali verse, note 66. Paticca samutpada. This is the cycle of the 12 links. Paticca samutpanna are the actual function, actual happening of these 12 links. Right? So what the Buddha basically is saying, I'll give you this teaching in theory and in practice. Listen, pay close attention, I will speak. Yes, Bhante, the monk replied to the Blessed One in essence. The Blessed One said this, right? So this is the cue. The moment you see this line, the Blessed One said this, you know the teaching is going to come. And what bhikshus is dependent arising? Decay and death bhikshus are conditioned by birth. Jati pachaya bhikkhave jara marana. Whether there is the arising of the Tathagata or Buddhas does come, or no arising of the Tathagatas, this element stands as the fixity of things, order of things, a specific conditionality. The Tathagatas awakens to this and realizes it. Having awakened to it, having realized it, he tells, teaches, proclaims, establishes, reveals, analyzes, and clarifies it thus, saying, see, decay and death bhikshus is conditioned by birth, and so on. Okay, so here, what the Buddha is saying is that he's not a prophet sent by anyone. He doesn't invent the teaching that he's giving us. All that he does is, he is what in Pali we say akataro. He points out to us. He shows us the way. He's like a guide, or even a referee if you like, so that we play the game of life right. But he doesn't punish us. He just keeps reminding us, do this, don't do that. So whether the Tathagatas arise in this world or not, whether there are Buddhas or not, this idea, this is a fixed idea. This is the nature of things. Something nobody can change. Right? In other words, what the Buddha is saying, if you look at it scientifically also, you will notice this. Right? So this is the wonder of Buddhism. The truth in this sense is out there, you can see it. But more importantly, you must see it within yourself. Right? It's there. That's the nature of things. Whether Buddhas are there or not, this is the nature of things. The Buddha didn't invent this. However, when there are Buddhas in the world, the Buddhas can point out to you. It becomes clear. Someone tells you this, like that. So you know better what to do. In other words, you have a teacher. Without a teacher, it's very difficult. You see, without a teacher for me, it took me more than 40 years to work on these suttas. Even then, not finished yet. Yeah? I'm kind of reaching nearly halfway point now. It's quite frightening. You know? That means I got another 20 years to go, more or less. Yeah? That's my reflection on death. Okay? So I told myself I got to work hard. You just can't frighten yourself with death to work hard. You must also enjoy what you're doing. Because whenever I sit with the sutta, I say, wow, that's very happy. But one thing I noticed, you must not take the joy for granted. You know? This happened to me when I went for my 1 week holiday. I went to Malaysia. After I came back, I don't feel like transiting anymore. I told myself, wow, this is tedious. You know? How did I get started? All this very difficult. You know, these suttas, and you got to work on it. All these lines, you got to learn. My eyesight is troubling me and failing me. I told myself, oh dear. But then I said, if I don't so the sutras, what am I going to do? You know, this is something that's so meaningful to me. So I told myself, okay, this is how I trick myself. Luckily, it is something I've learned before. I told myself, okay, don't think of translating whole suttas. Just take one line, just one line. Okay. So this is the knower trying to outwit the doer. You know about the doer and the knower. In your mind, you find the doer is the very talkative mind, all the past knowledge telling you do this, do that, mental chatter. You know? The knower is the present moment awareness. So I told myself, okay, just take one line. You just look at one line, or maybe just look, maybe the one line in the sutta, there's a mistake there. You just correct it. So I just turn on the computer, turn on the sutta, and I just look at that one line, say, oh, this is interesting, okay, correct this. So you just let your mind into the work, and then there you are. You're back do what you have been doing before, and then you find things continue like that. And then now the joy of the work is there again. So this is where, always remember, this happiness you are enjoying, Buddhism, the peacefulness, do not take it for granted. Something else can come in and just cut you off and then take you away, and then you find you miss the peacefulness. So while you have the chance, use it, learn all you can about the peacefulness of the mind. And the time comes that you are cut off on some really urgent situation over which you have no control, but you have this peacefulness with you wherever you go. This is like a tortoise, It's a beautiful parable of the tortoise. The tortoise, when it sees a jackal coming, it draws in all the four limbs, its head and tail also. And the jackal can't sniff around, not finding a single limb to catch and tear this tortoise apart. The jackal goes away. So this is, you're safe. Mara cannot touch you. Once your senses, you are in charge of your senses. Your mind is calm. All right? So this is a beautiful analogy of the tortoise, the parable of the tortoise. So the Buddha points the teachings out to us, and he says, see, right? So this is a beautiful word. Look, see, passa, see. You can see note 71. You can say pasata, pasata, see. Here is a you, see, is a second person imperative. Decay and death bhikshu is conditioned by birth. Second link. Birth bhikshu is conditioned by existence. Bhava pacchaya jati. Whether there is the arising of Tathagata or no arising of Tathagatas, this element stands as the fixity of things, the order of things, a specific conditionality. Tathagata awakens to this and realizes it. Having awakened to it, having realized it, he tells, teaches, proclaims, establishes, reveals, analyzes, and clarifies it thus, saying, see, birth, bhikshus, is conditioned by existence. So in this first round, we're just going to look at the words, okay? Then after that, I will explain to you one by one. Okay, let's read together the third one. Okay, this is already repetitive. Let us do a bit of Sutta Puja here. Section 3. Okay, shall we read this together as a reflection? Are you ready? Existence, bhikshus, is conditioned by clinging. Upadana, pacchaya, bhikkhave, bhavo. Whether there is the arising of the Tathagatas or no arising of the Tathagatas, this element stands as the fixity of things, the order of things, a specific conditionality. The Tathagatas awaken to this and realizes it. Having awakened to it, having realized it, he tells, teaches, proclaims, establishes, reveals, analyzes, and clarifies it thus, saying, see, existence, bhikshus, is conditioned by clinging. Okay? So this is the template. This is the key idea. This is the nature of things. The Buddha declared, awakens to this truth and then teaches us for our benefit. Then link number 4, clinging, bhikshus, is conditioned by craving. Okay, that's just enough. No? So, tanha pacchaya bhikkhave upadana. And then everything repeats itself. Number 5, craving, bhikshus, is conditioned by feeling. Vedana pacchaya bhikkhave tanha. Number 6, feeling, bhikshus, is conditioned by contact. Phassa pacchaya bhikkhave vedana. Number 7, contact, bhikshus, is conditioned by the 6 senses. Salayatana pacchaya bhikkhave passa. Okay? Then number 8, the 6 senses, bhikshus, are conditioned by name and form. Nama rupa pacchaya bhikkhave salayatana. 9, name and form, bhikshus, are conditioned by consciousness. Vijnana pacchaya bhikkhave nama rupa. Number 10, consciousness conditioned by bhikshus is missing. Put bhikshus in. Consciousness, bhikshus, is conditioned by volitional formations. Sankhara Pachaya Bhikkhave Vinyanam. 11. Volitional formations, bhikshus, are conditioned by ignorance. Alright? So it ends with ignorance. So this is a reverse 12 links. It goes backwards, starting with birth and going back to ignorance. Now you may or may not get certain lines, because some line you say, oh yeah, this one is clear to me, but other lines kind of, it just sounds. It's okay. But you notice something interesting just now. We didn't notice an error in line 10 until we read it. Right? So this is what the recital tradition does in Buddhism. See, when they recite, they will notice whether there are mistakes or not. Okay? So it's like us proofreading, so we correct it that way. But these are human errors, these are not Dharma errors. Okay? Alright, so this is the theory, if you like. Traveling, starting from birth, going to ignorance. Now, in the next section, it says dependently arisen phenomena. This is called paticca samuppanna. Now, before that, there's one more term we need to know. You can see here, ida pacayata. Ida, the original Pali word is idam. Idam means this. Okay? Pacaya means dependent on this. This term, if you translate to English, the best way is specific conditionality. This ida pacayata, the ta ending makes it an abstract noun, a noun. It refers to the working of each pair. A leads to B, like that, you know. So if it's a pair, let's say you take one line and you see A leads to B, conditioned by A, there is B, that's called specific conditionality. It's very specific in other words, okay? So that helps us to understand link by link, right? Okay, let's look at 6.1. It's a new cycle now, okay? And what bhikshus are dependently arisen phenomena. Okay, so now the question is, what is this? What is it that arises dependent on conditions? In other words, it doesn't arise by itself. It arises through conditions. Answer, decay and death, bhikshus, is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, subject to passing away, subject to fading away, subject to ceasing. Of course, here you have to understand the language. When you say decay and death are impermanent, are conditioned, the meaning is that the fact that we grow old, that itself is impermanent. That's the meaning. Okay, so it's wrong language, you've got to interpret it. Right? And death is what makes us see things as impermanent, in other words. So here, if we reflect in this way, we say this is the nature of things. The Buddha didn't introduce this. The Buddha didn't create this. It's the nature of things. Whatever exists must change. Whatever arises must pass away. This is the nature of things. No one made it that way. That's how things are around us. That's all we can say. Right? So some of the people, they try to make it simpler by introducing other ideas, but it becomes more complicated, like God idea and so on. It's not necessary. Okay? We might say, oh, someone must have done this, right? Not necessary. Okay? This is, we call it wrong reasoning. Over many centuries, up to the time of the colonial period, many of these theologians, they tried to prove the existence of God. But nowadays, all this proof is not popular, right? You don't hear even the God believers talking about hell and so on, except in today's paper. Today's paper, you read it, the Pope says, wants the mafia. Say this mafia don't stop killing, you'll go to hell. He's very brave in saying that. But I can tell you, he has done a very dangerous thing. So, the mafia are not going to take it lying down. So, of course, whether the mafia will say, okay, we better change or not, I don't know. Maybe the mafia might say, I think it's time we turn to Buddhism. Sadhu. Okay? The thing is, people don't really bother about hell nowadays. You can tell them, but they say, oh, we're not bothered, we're not scared. They even make jokes about it. So, what I'm saying here, the Buddha doesn't create all these conditions to frighten us, no. On the contrary, the Buddha is teaching us so that we are confident, we are empowered to stand on our own feet, to discover our true self and be happy within ourselves. So, death is something natural. Yes, we're going to leave this body, but we're going to be reborn. And in many ways, we have those karmic genes that will somehow create similar conditions in the future. So in a sense, we will meet again. Now the fact that we are met here, we are met before. But how we're going to meet, whether we're going to be nice to each other or not, or nasty to each other, really depends on what we are doing here. Like here, we are studying the Dharma, so you can be sure. I mean the only time you'll meet me or meet us here is to study the suttas, you know, So this likelihood is going to recur in the future. So this is an example of how karma works. If we do good things, happy things together, this situation is likely to recur. Maybe exactly, maybe a variation of it, but very similar sense of learning, of peace, of joy. Okay, then next one, 7. Birth, bhikshus, is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, subject to disruption, subject to passing away, subject to fading away, subject to ceasing. In fact, all the 12 links are reflected in this way. They are all like that, changing, impermanent. Okay, let's read together, number 8 and the rest. Existence, bhikshus, is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, subject to passing away, subject to fading away, subject to ceasing. Clinging, bhikshus, is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, subject to passing away, subject to fading away, subject to ceasing. Craving, bhikshus, is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, subject to passing away, subject to fading, subject to ceasing. Okay, let's just stop there for a while. I don't know whether anything clicks in you or not as you read this. For example, existence is impermanent. Clinging is impermanent, right? Craving is impermanent. Now imagine if you are a counselor, you are a therapist, you're dealing with people who have all kinds of problems, especially in the prisons. Sometimes you read the papers, this one child molesters. No? They say they can't control themselves. This person is sent to jail, comes out and he molests children again. Imagine if he goes for counseling and therapy, the therapist tells him, you can change. Craving is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, subject to passing away, subject to fading away, subject to ceasing. And you say, well, okay, there's hope. Huh? Because he will be telling the judge or his counselor says, I can't change, I can't change. So, that is a conditioning itself. You say, I can't change. So here, number 1 is impermanent, that means it doesn't last forever. It is conditioned. There are things that brought him to do these things. So what are those things? Identify them, understand them. And then dependently arisen. In other words, if the conditions are out there, what is it that makes this person commit this crime? Be aware of them and remove those conditions. And then subject to destruction, in other words, you can remove those habits by, for example, aversion therapy, different kinds of maybe meditation. Subject to passing away, let him go. In your meditation, say, I'm letting go of all these bad habits. Subject to fading away slowly, patiently, conditioning yourself in a positive way. And then in the end, this negative habit is gone. Right? So this is also a healing kind of practice. Right? So craving itself is permanent, doesn't last forever. Okay, let's look at the next one, feeling, 11. Shall we read? Feeling issues is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, subject to passing away, subject to fading away, subject to ceasing. Contact virtues is impermanent, condition, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, subject to passing away, subject to fading away, subject to ceasing. Okay, let's just stop and reflect on it. What does contact mean? Contact means the way your senses work. Okay, for example, seeing. Okay, there is vision, there is a visible object out there, and then you see it. So that's called contact, visual contact or eye contact. The sound comes to you, and then your attention rises. Sound. That's called ear contact, right? So even this contact is impermanent. For example, sometimes we hear people saying very bad things, we're not happy with it. Or someone talking very loudly on the phone in the bus or in the train. You say, wow, this one is really irritating. Now what's interesting is this, you tell yourself, okay, this person talking very loudly is irritating. Why is it irritating? Right? You reflect, and you find that very interesting answers come to you. And next thing you say, impermanent. As long as you think about it, as long as you think irritating, it becomes irritating, isn't it? But if you say sound, you say, oh, this is wonderful, my ears are working perfectly, right? You won't suffer so much. Then after that, the stop comes, okay, you can down now, all right? So this is how we deal with situations, right, in the crowded environment, okay? All right, next one, six senses, Dr. King. Six sense bases, which are impermanent. Condition, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, subject to passing away, subject to fading away, subject to ceasing. Okay, I think we got to put the, don't you think, the six sense bases. Correct. Our six sense bases are also like impermanent. Right on my eyes, as we grow, things change. I'm very fortunate all these problems discovered early, so the treatment, right? So in many ways we find the health system is such we discover many ailments early, then we can correct them. But they're impermanent. Our body still changes. I look at myself in the mirror one day and I say, oh my goodness, how old I've grown. All the time I told myself I look like a 60-year-old boy. And no, I say, wow, I'm suddenly so old, Say, who's this guy in the mirror, So we look at the shock of it. But that's it, you got to accept it, And then you got to behave in an age-appropriate situation, age-appropriate kind of behavior. So these are all reflections we need to face ourselves. Okay, next one, name and form. Name and form issues are impermanent, condition, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, subject to passing away, subject to fading away, subject to ceasing. Consciousness issues is impermanent, condition, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, subject to passing away, subject to fading away, subject to ceasing. Volitional formations, issues are impermanent, condition, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, subject to passing away, subject to fading away, subject to ceasing. Okay, just talk about volitional formation. What are these? In simple terms, this is our karma. But it's not karma in the sense of collective karma. Here it is what we do right now. For example, through the mind, we have angry thoughts. Okay, that's mental formation. Then we say something angry. Okay, so that's verbal formation. And we do something bad. It is bodily formation. On the opposite side, you do something positive, you think something positive, you say something positive. There are mental formations, bodily formation, verbal formation, right? All these are impermanent, they can end, right? It's just like, let's say, you're doing something good, like for example, right now, we're sitting here, even though as you sit there listening, you appear to be doing nothing, but you are creating good karma by just not doing anything. In fact, when you're not doing anything, you are keeping the 5 precepts, That's why we recite the 5 precepts first, right? So by not doing anything, you're keeping to it, so in that sense. And that's how we maintain our human state and so on. But of course, you need to do more than that, to cultivate wisdom and so on. And the last one is ignorance. Ignorance, which is impermanent, condition, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, subject to passing away, subject to fading away, subject to ceasing. In other words, there is hope. There is hope. Ignorance can be removed. That's why the Buddhas are here. The Buddhas also declare good is possible. Wholesome states are possible. That's why it teaches the Dharma. Otherwise, you're wasting his time, right? It is possible for us to change and become good people. Okay, so now let me just point out to you how it works. Let us start from the bottom. It's easier to understand. Start with ignorance. Okay? In other words, you can say, what's going on around here? What's going on with our life? Why are we suffering, for example? Notice suffering, you see the number 13 actually, if you like, is suffering, right? In this whole thing, in a way, it's a definition of suffering. So let us begin with ignorance. So you ask why, the best, if you say, God did it, we have a lot of problems, and we have to answer so many questions, and which have no answer. But if you say, I don't know, it's the best answer. Right? Ignorance. Right? So, it's because I don't know, it's because of my ignorance that there are volitional formations. It's because I'm ignorant, so I think this way, I act this way, I speak this way. Right? Very often you find a lot of people, they start quarreling. See, even if only they are wiser, they won't talk nasty like that. If they are more wise, they wouldn't be so terrified in their actions. Then their heart rate won't go up, and their blood pressure won't go up, and things like that. If they are wise, then their minds won't go into negative state of fear and so on. So because of ignorance, all these negative formations, we form all these ideas, we form this action, we form this speech through not knowing. That leads to suffering. The interesting point is this. Even now, as you and I are sitting here, we do not have perfect knowledge yet. We don't have anya, we don't have this understanding or even the streamliness yet. We are nearing there, but not yet. So sometimes we may even say the wrong things when we talk Dharma. We might even say the wrong things when we are nice to people, kind to people, even in our good intentions. It's not so bad because our intention is good. In that case, But occasionally I get speakers come to me, they say, sometimes we're not sure of the sutta. We simply say, do we create bad karma? Because we don't really know what's the intention of the Buddha. It says, if you study very carefully, do your research, and then you look at what other teachers say, and then you say, okay, this is what I think the Buddha says in the sutta, this is what this monk also confirms, so I tell you now. So that way you are safe, right? I would say, even if you say the wrong thing sometimes without bad intention, you are not creating bad karma. Okay? But the moment you understand something is wrong, then you make an effort to correct it. That is the good karma it's called ditti ju karma, the action of straightening views. Right? So in other words, you must be mindful. So ignorance leads to volitional formations. When you have volitional formation, in other words, you start thinking this, that, and doing things, consciousness arises. Now this is a bit tricky, but it's easier to understand if you think of an infant, a baby. Once a baby is born, very interestingly, this baby is alive. It's able to, in a sense, interact with the world. When it is too cold, it will cry. Too warm also, it will cry. It's hungry, it will cry. It's wet, it will cry. That's all it knows. Anyway, this is a life-saving kind of arrangement. When the moment we hear baby cries, the human nature is somehow to respond to it. Right? So this is a kind of volitional formation of the baby. So and as this baby grows, becomes more mature, the baby becomes more and more conscious. The baby is born in ignorance, okay? But then volitional formation from past life makes it more aware of things slowly. Its consciousness begins to form. The baby is not fully conscious For example, the baby cannot recognize people at first, but slowly the baby recognizes the mother, especially because the mother is closest to the baby, to the smell, and then slowly next is to vision, things like that. Okay, so in other words, the senses begin to activate. The consciousness, right here, we don't talk about sense yet because it's very fundamental, very simple, right? So we say consciousness. Notice the sentence number 5. Number 3 is only consciousness. So this baby is vaguely conscious, something present, right? And is aware of safety, something like that. Okay, it's conscious. Right? Now we give toys to the baby, right? Colorful toys, noisy toys, bright toys. Why? Because this helps the baby to cultivate, develop the senses. Okay? Before that, senses number 5, so we go number 4, one more step before that. For example, we play something to the baby and we say what? Rabbit, or cat, or dog. We give a name to it. Okay? So we show the kind of symbol and then we name it. So there is the form, there's the name. There's the name, there's the form. So it's very appropriate, name and form. So we keep telling this name and form to the child, to the little infant. This infant begins to know. And then we say, where's the little doggy? And then this baby turns the head, and also the baby begins to understand. So in other words, the baby has formed this name and able to relate the name to the form, relate the form to the name. Okay? So this is how the mind of the infant evolves. And then the senses begin to form, begin to be more active. The eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind are all there, but they are not really active or useful and interactive like our eyes, or the eyes of the adult. Babies have got beautiful eyes, but they don't function like adults. For example, like you said, the babies see the world upside down, right? And the babies can already differentiate certain things. But as the baby matures and we give enough stimuli, enough education, enough interaction, the senses become more sensitive. They become more of the faculties we understand. They are called the 6 senses. So by the time the child is a couple of years old, the 6 senses are formed. And then when you have senses, you have sense experience. The baby begins to look at things and say, they like this, or they don't like this, they don't care about this. In other words, just like us already, sense contact. How the senses experience things, and then because you experience things in your senses, you either like them, you don't like them. You like them because in the past you experienced them and they give you this nice feeling. You don't like them because from your past experience these things cause you pain. And you don't care about them. You ignore them because you've never had any experience about them in the past. So this is the three basic way we react to feelings, to contact. These 3 kinds of feelings. Whichever way we react, especially liking and disliking, craving arises. Craving basically is a kind of pleasure-oriented, response. For example, we like nice thing, nice food. By the same token, we dislike things which are opposite of this. So even disliking is a kind of craving. And this is very interesting because in the same lecture by this Robert Wright, he also mentioned this. So they are really learning fast about this deeper dharma. So craving covers both liking and disliking. And also ignorance. The third one, this neutral feeling, because the neutral feeling is something we don't care about, right? Because we never experience it, so we neither like nor dislike it. Okay, so these are 3 kinds of feelings. Then because of feeling, craving arises. Once we experience something as pleasant, we cling to it. Craving is something you have not got yet. You look for it, you hunt for it. That's called craving. Craving means hunting, running after. But once you get it, you cling to it. Okay? But remember, whenever the hand clings to the hand, takes its shape. So we become the thing that we cling to, right? So because of craving, there is clinging. We're not talking about things here, we're talking about mental situations. So let's say if someone habitually gets angry, then his emotion is more like that, naturally. And he's going to do more of it. And as a result, he is going to become anger. Meaning what? What kind of animal got a lot of anger? What kind of beings got a lot of anger? We have a human body, yes, but if the mind is that full of anger or hatred or lust, then we become the kind of animal or being that shows a lot of that kind of behavior. We become our behavior. So this is another interesting thing about karma. Karma is not a system of reward and punishment. Karma is what you become, or what becomes of you if you behave in a certain way. So sometimes you see, how do people look at Buddhism? Maybe they think of Buddhism as simply a magical thing. Or you bow so many times the Buddha image, you burn so many candles, you put so many fruits in there, you put some donation, you're going to get good luck. It doesn't matter how you behave in a temple. You don't have to be peaceful, you can talk as long as you like, you can do what you like, you don't need to be peaceful. Then it's a different kind of situation you're putting yourself in. So you have to, in other words, understand deeply what's going on. You have to look at this and say, okay, what I think is going to become me. So karma is what you become. So, of course, these people are not to be blamed. If anyone is to be blamed, it's the teachers, the kind of teaching you're being given. Yeah? So that is why it is better to give sutta teachings, no matter how boring they are, because there are people who have their attention span to listen. And then there are those who can filter, make all this teaching interesting to others, and to reach down to even the simplest level of the youngest children. Right? Now, if you go to this kind of temple, you find, wow, everybody is so peaceful and happy and kind to each other, aware of each other. That's really wonderful, I tell you. And there are such temples, or there are moments in the temples where people are like that, where people are friendly. There are some temples I go to, people will come up and say, oh, we're happy to see you. Come and have some lunch, and they say, how are you? And everybody's talking, smiling, happy. It's really wonderful, you know. And we talk about suttas, you know. I mean, if you come to me, that's what you talk about. I mean, there's nothing else. Maybe the weather, you know, but the point is, we talk something which is helpful in maintaining peace of mind. Then finally, before that, if there is existence, that means this life goes on, then you're going to be reborn. It's going to happen again. Okay? How does this happen? Take a case of a very dark person, someone negative in the sense of do bad things. Okay? Let's say he's a robber, rapist, murderer. So he learns, he goes around in the dark. In daytime he sleeps. Okay? So imagine this kind of person, all his life he does this. So imagine the kind of mind he has. So he has a body of a human being, but he has got this stalking mind, this hunting mind, this animal-like mind. So imagine when he dies, the human body dies. What remains is the animal mind, or the drug addict for that matter. He's thinking of drugs. So you have this drug addict mind. So this stalking mind looks for an animal body. The drug user's mind will look for a preta body. Preta, hungry ghost. Okay? So, in other words, the mind will be attracted to the same kind of body. We didn't trash our human body. So once the body is gone, you won't get anything. This mind is going to look for something that is commensurate. So that's how it works. Okay? And I told myself, well, this explanation is okay, acceptable to me. So, you have birth. But whatever birth you have, there is decay, there is death. And the cycle starts again, it's all ignorance, so this traveling goes round and round. Okay? So that's the 12 rings. Any questions for the moment?
This also applies to the animal.
Yes, all beings, whatever exists. This applies to a conscious state. I mean, some kind of there's mind and body going on. Yeah?
That's, I remember, that is one of the Theravada, very short, whereas they were saying this 12 link is another interpretation. It means it is not a full that length, of such a length for both the death and the cycle.
Yeah, you can.
It's a present moment encounter.
Yeah.
And the 12 link just runs through.
We have different. We have the finer details and different opinions. Some people say it happens in a moment. Some people say over 3 lives, things like that. I've written about this in a separate article. It's called Dependent Arising. I don't know whether it's noted here or not. You can go online, get it, or you can email to us. Yes, here it is. SD 5.16. Yeah? SD 5.16. That talks about all those some of the issues relating to dependent arising. Okay? But if you look at the sutta, the way the Buddha explains it, dependent arising, you can interpret in 2 ways. One is in this life itself, for example, the way I'm acting now. Okay? For example, we come for this class, right? We start practicing and then it's going to end, right? So that's one simple cycle. But better than that, if you look, there is mention of ignorance, inertia of birth and then death. So obviously, we're talking about one life, or even 3 lives: past life, present life, future life. Whatever it is how you use it to explain. What are you explaining? You find that this is a theory. So you can use it to explain different situations. Right? So it's not just one application. Another way of looking at it, if you find really deep, is just take a link or 2 links that you can connect with. Just take 2 links or a couple of links and then you reflect. For example, contact, feeling, craving. Or even, contact, feeling, craving. Or feeling, craving, clinging, right? Or 6 senses, contact, feeling, craving. Those 4, very easy. You take any of them. Right? Feeling is a very easy one. Right? You say, okay, you reflect. How does feeling arise? My eyes see something, and it's something I see that's nice, and I crave for it. And once I get it, I cling to it. Right? That's easy to understand. So you reflect on that. And as you reflect on that, and then slowly you try to build up the connections. So this one is seeing connections in things. For example, you see some of this movie like Sherlock Holmes, and you could see things, start telling where this person was from, what happened to him. Why could he do that? He could connect the clues, you see. So the Buddha is that he was able to connect all these clues he sees in life when he crosses the travelings. Now the benefit of reflecting in this way, reflecting on what? Conditionality. Again, if you say, wow, these travelings are really deep, how can I get a simplified idea of it? The simplified idea is called conditionality, conditions. Things happen because of many conditions, never one condition. Something goes wrong is never one condition. You cannot say, well, you can say, but it's not the real facts, that the oil started the fire. Sometimes you see that people says, oil started the fire. But in real fact, oil alone won't start a fire. I mean, the oil is in a vacuum, You try and light a match, you can even light a match. So the oil will never catch fire. There must be other things. We know very well, you learn in basic science then, secondary school. You must have air, it must be dry, you must have combustible things, and proximity of it, and then fire is there, and then zap, it burns. So it must many conditions, never one condition. Okay? So when something goes wrong in our life also, there are many conditions. Identify them and then try to work with them. Not just one person. Problems are never caused by people. They're caused by conditions. Like you heard the famous saying, some of this Boys Town or what, they use this saying. They say there are no problem people, only people with problems. Right? They don't know actually reflecting Buddhist teachings, right? No problem people. You say problem people, that means this person from A to Z, from beginning to end, whole life like that. No such thing. People with problems, that means there are occasions when they face certain issues, certain problems, when the conditions are there. So we deal with those conditions. So remember, this is about conditionality. And this is what the closing section tells us. Let's look at section 18, page 110. This is the conclusion, the benefit of reflecting on the 12 links. This is very interesting because I don't remember in any of the suttas with this kind of conclusion, so it's worth noting. I've revised the translation slightly to make it clearer. Bhikshus, when a noble disciple has clearly seen, then take the last part, as they really are with right wisdom, this dependent arising and these dependently arisen phenomena, that he would ever run back to the past, thinking, now was I in the past? Now was I not in the past? Now what was I in the past? Cancel the second noun, delete the second noun. You should read now, what was I in the past? Next sentence correct, the first word correct to now. Now, how was I in the past? Now, having been what did I become what in the past? This is impossible. Okay, this is one of those Indian idioms you got to watch out. It's very tricky. They like to tell you the things that you're not supposed to do first, This, and then in the end they say, okay, this is what you should not do. Alright? So notice the last sentence said, this is impossible. Right? Notice that, In other words, if you rephrase the modern times, it is impossible that he will think, now what was I in the past? In other words, you start worrying, Oh, I was rich in the past, I was young in the past, I was handsome in the past. Think about all those things and then you regret. Right? No, doesn't think like that. Or you won't say, now, was I not in the past? Oh, in the past I was not like that, I was not like that. You start thinking and then you feel sad. You won't think, now, what was I in the past? What? That means maybe status, situation. How was I in the past? Right? Maybe happy, not happy, And then the number 5 is cause effect. In the past, I got this and then that happened. So in other words, we don't think of the past, just go worrying. Start thinking the past and then we get problems. So this is a very wonderful statement. If you understand conditionality, you don't start blaming the past. You don't start worrying in the past. You don't start living in the past. That's the meaning. So let go of the past. Watch present conditions. Watch the present condition. What's going on now? Watch it. Right? When someone is angry with you, you don't say, hey, you're always like that, It doesn't help, Right? If you apply conditionality, you say, okay, number 1, you recognize, you say, okay, I see that you're angry. What are you angry about? What makes you angry? Then you're dealing with conditionality. You want to know the conditions behind this anger. So that's how you apply it into daily life. Okay? Look for the conditions that brought about that state. 19.1. Or that he would ever run up into the future thinking, now will I be in the future? Now will I not be in the future? Now what will I be in the future? Now how will I be in the future? Now having been what will I become what in the future? This is impossible, right? So Buddha said, you understand conditionality, the 12 links, you will not worry about the future also. What will I become? Will I be born in a hungry ghost state? Will I go to Western paradise? No, you don't think of that. No need to worry. You're happy. Right now you're at peace with yourself. So this is the benefit of the 12 links. Next one, 20.1. Or that he would now, right now, be in doubt within himself about the present, thinking, now am I? Now am I not? Now what am I? Now how am I? Where now has this being come from? Where now will this being go? This is impossible. So in other words, if you understand conditionality, even right now you're not worried about yourself. You understand everything causes effect, causes effect. If Descartes had understood this teaching, the whole of Western philosophy might have changed. Right? You wouldn't have said, cogito ergo sum. You would say, I think therefore I exist. There's no I. No? You already assume there's an I. Okay? So, what is the reason for this? Asked the Buddha. Because the noble disciple has clearly seen things as they really are with right wisdom. This dependently arising and this dependently arisen phenomena. So, in other words, it's totally clearly understood the real nature of travelings, of conditionality, no more doubts. So, once these doubts are removed, at least stream winning. There's no stream winning mentioned here, but this is my understanding. At least you get stream winning when this doubt is removed. Okay? But if there is deeper wisdom, you can even get Arahatu. So the sutta ends here.
Means you don't think about the past or future.
There is a way of thinking these things. You can't really shut out thoughts. You see, thoughts you can't. The idea is depends whether you're meditating or not meditating. You see, because in meditation you are advised not to think about the past. Because if you think about the past, then you are distracted. You cannot watch the breath. You see, right? Because the breath is in the present moment. So in a meditation situation, you are told, let go of the past. Your mind has been the present. Watch the breath. Yeah. Yes, during meditation, let go of the past. But in our daily life, when you talk to people, we got to think of the past. Like even now, when I talk to you, I think, okay, the past, this is the idea, right, and related to you. So it's how you think about it, but you are not going to be worried about it. You're not going to be badly affected by it. You're going to be positive about it. Even the Buddha also tells Ataka stories. The Buddha also talks about the past, but they're always in a happy, positive state. Yes, you can think of the past, you can live the past, but you must be happy, positive. Okay, the future also, happy, positive. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, if I may summarize this correctly, if you understand, okay, the second part about the future and the present, if you understand present origination, you will not worry about the future, neither will you worry about the present. Is my understanding?
Yes, that's a basic idea, yes.
And then as for the first part, as to the past, is the message also the same that if you understand dependent on origination, you should not be thinking of the past? Are you saying that we should reflect on the past and look for conditions that's in the past that give rise to the present?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Well, conditions can also be in the past, present, future, right? So it will work all the same over the 3 times. In other words, here, once you understand conditionality, you are going to act in a positive way. For example, you reflect on the past, you say, okay, I notice, okay, these are the thoughts I want the past. So I think I'm troubled by them, so I got to let go of them. Because whatever I've experienced is not because of the past. Maybe you say, oh, in the past I was poor, so now I'm like this. But that's not true. Or even if that's true, I can say, okay, right now, what can I do now? Because I can change the conditions. So understanding of conditionality helps you to take that very positive step ahead to put yourself in the right direction, heading towards true happiness. It helps you to see things more clearly so that you can put it to right action. Another way of putting it, you apply the Eightfold Path. It helps you to bring in right view, right thought, right speech, and so on. You begin to act in the proper way after that. Okay?
You can also apply this to others,
Oh yes, definitely.
so as to correct or modify one's responses.
Yes. So that's why the sutta is open to everybody, so that we see this and then we help ourselves. And to help others with this too.
It means what happened to us is due to condition.
Yes, conditions, cause effect, many causes, many effect. Never one cause, one effect. No first effect, no first cause. Many conditions, right? I mean, we really look around, right? The plane crash, whatever. many conditions. So you've got to find out what's going on. That's what we're all trying to find out. Okay? So you have to look around and reflect and see how things are connected together. Okay, any other questions or things to raise?
Think about volitional formations. Can you explain a bit?
Okay, volitional formation, sankhara. Sankhara sometimes simply means formation, and they translate differently in different situations, different contexts. Remember, some of these key Buddhist terms which are very deep, they don't have a single translation because the Pali is able to absorb all these ideas, but once you translate into English, they won't work. So, for example, sometimes sankhara is translated as formations, sometimes translated as what you call in other terms, depending on the context. Here we translate as formations because it reflects on what arises in your mind, your body, your speech, as a result of this cycle of events. See? Because of ignorance that there are volitional formations. Volition has got to do with deliberation. In other words, this is where you, for example, the way we think. Anger arises, we are conscious of the anger, we are aware of the anger, that's called a mental formation. If you feel happy and you say, I am happy now, and I'm enjoying the fact that I'm happy, that's also a mental formation. You deliberately, you know this, you like it. So in the first case, I'm angry and I like it is bad, mental formation. Or in other words, you can use it as karma. Okay? Then you act it out. Because of the anger, there is this violent action. That is bad bodily formation. And then because of anger, you say something nasty. That is bad verbal formation. They're called formation because we form them into something that other people also are affected by. It's just an abstract word, formation, in the sense of something mental and something. Some is called karmic formations. Right? So you do something positive, for example, you say something nice to people, you say, don't worry about this, everything's impermanent, you'll probably be over after a while. That is a verbal formation, and this person listens very happy. So he benefits from it. So it's karma actually. It's another thing. Here, the word volitional formation is used because of the context of the condition, causes, effects, condition, causes, effects. Think of it as simply as karma.
Does the volitional mean deliberate?
Yes, intentional in the sense that there are one of the three roots: greed, hate, or delusion. You may or may not be conscious of it. This is something very interesting. For example, some people they're angry and they will not even be aware of it because it's so habitual. For example, let's say the public executioner those days, people say that after a while they get so used to it, they define, they don't think much of it. Especially hunters who go shooting around, killing animals. Then after a while they don't think about it until someone points out and they realize, say, yeah, I should have been doing this, it's wrong. So just because someone says, I don't mean to do it, but the person hurt others, it doesn't mean that there's no karma. Even though we're not conscious, to do something bad, like killing someone, you must have either greed, hate, or delusion. So we have to be really mindful in not allowing this to happen. Of course, there's a situation where we are very, very careful, but someone dies as a result. Like a good doctor, who tries to operate with someone, but this person's health doesn't help and he passes away. Yeah, in that case we don't say it's culpable, it's not karmically culpable in this case.
The name and form is not name and form.
Okay, form is something, let's say you never seen this before. I go to, say, deep Africa, assuming nowadays everywhere they know what a pen is, but never seen this, they don't know what it is. So it's just a form. Then they have to name it, they must give it a name. For example, if you meet me, I don't tell you my name, you feel very uncomfortable. So we always want a name. Then we mentally paste the name. We say, okay, pen, right? So we connect. So next time I say pen, this picture comes to your mind, you have an idea. But it's not the real thing, it's just a concept. But it helps us to connect, to work. So in Buddhism we say, It's just name and form. Don't get caught up with it. Right? Because sometimes people may tell you something bad and you get upset, see? Right? So we are getting upset with name and form, this idea in our minds. See? So in a sense, name and form, we can also say idea. It gives us a good idea of what a pen is. This is the form, and we give a name to it. Okay? And notice its position, name and form, is between consciousness and six senses. That's good. It's a wonderful sutta. I'm sure you enjoyed it. Next lesson sutta also very nice, how to overcome anger. Okay, so let us go with a short reflection. Right, once again, we can hear the Buddha's teachings in such simplicity and yet such accuracy. The suttas is like the Buddha's diary, telling us all the wonderful teachings, truths that he has experienced. So we need to look at these whenever the time or occasion arises for us. Just choose the part that you like, reflect on it. Even a bit of it, will help you to grasp the rest in time. So just reflect on the spot, the suttas that you like, that you can digest, reflect on them. There's nothing to lose, but a lot to gain. And what we gain is wisdom. Wisdom means self-understanding. And when we understand ourselves, we begin to understand the things around us. We begin to understand other people also. And we are capable of helping others, bringing them happiness. Reflecting in this way, may we be blessed with happiness here and now, peace of mind, with wisdom. May we attain spiritual liberation in this dream winning in this life. In this moment of peace, let us dedicate, let us share our loving kindness, radiate our loving kindness to all the people who are here, to all the beings who are here, that they may be well and happy. That this be a place of peace and joy and learning. May all those people who work hard for this place be well and happy. May those who come here to be well and happy. May our loved ones be well and happy. May those not touched with the Dharma to see the Dharma in their hearts and be liberated and be happy people too. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu.